How many nights have you spent worrying about things you cannot control? How many times have you stared at your circumstances, wondering if life will ever change? The human mind becomes restless when answers do not appear immediately. It fears silence. It fears delay. It fears uncertainty. And in those moments, worry begins to take control. But what if the silence is not emptiness? What if behind the scenes, reality is already shifting in ways you cannot yet see? What if the closed doors, the delays, and the confusion are not signs of failure, but signs that life is rearranging itself for something greater? Most people give up too soon because they mistake stillness for stagnation. They believe nothing is happening simply because they cannot see movement with their physical eyes. But the greatest changes in life often begin invisibly. Long before the breakthrough arrives, unseen forces are already aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities. Tonight, you are going to understand why worry weakens your power, why trust changes everything, and why your reality may already be transforming behind the scenes at this very moment. So quiet your mind, release your fear, and listen carefully, because the universe may already be rearranging everything in your favor. One of the greatest struggles people face is learning to remain faithful during seasons of silence. Human beings naturally want visible proof that things are moving forward. They want immediate confirmation that their prayers are being answered and their efforts are producing results. But life does not always reveal its movement instantly. In fact, some of the most important transformations happen invisibly, long before they appear physically. The mind often mistakes delay for failure. When circumstances remain unchanged for too long, doubt begins creeping in. People start questioning themselves, questioning their future, questioning whether what they desire will ever arrive. They assume that because they cannot see movement, nothing is happening at all. But this is one of the greatest illusions the fearful mind creates. Nature itself demonstrates this truth perfectly. A seed planted underground seems invisible for a time. From the surface, the soil appears unchanged. Yet beneath the ground, roots are spreading, growth is beginning, and preparation for future expression is already underway. If someone judged the process only by outward appearances, they might wrongly conclude that nothing was happening. But the unseen activity beneath the surface is precisely what makes the visible bloom possible later. Human life operates the same way. Before visible breakthroughs occur, invisible preparation often takes place first. Sometimes life must rearrange circumstances, remove old patterns, shift relationships, or guide you toward new paths before your desired reality fully appears. What you call delay may actually be preparation. The problem is that most people react emotionally to appearances too quickly. The moment they encounter silence, they panic. The moment results do not appear immediately, they begin affirming failure inwardly. And because the outer world reflects dominant inner states, this emotional instability often prolongs the very experience they wish to escape. This is why patience is not passive weakness. Patience is emotional stability during unseen movement. It is the ability to remain inwardly calm while life quietly rearranges itself behind the scenes. And the person who develops that patience stops abandoning their vision at the very moment things are beginning to shift. Worry is one of the most destructive habits of the human mind because it quietly steals peace, weakens faith, and keeps people emotionally trapped in fear. Most people worry because they believe it gives them some form of control. They think constant overthinking somehow protects them from disappointment. But worry does not create solutions. It creates resistance. It keeps the mind focused on problems instead of possibilities, and over time it shapes the very reality a person wishes to avoid. A worried person lives mentally in future problems that may never even happen. They rehearse failure before failure exists. They imagine rejection before rejection occurs. And because the subconscious mind responds to repeated emotional impressions, those fears slowly influence their outer experiences. Here is what most people do not realize. Manifestation is deeply connected to the emotional atmosphere you consistently live within. If your dominant emotional state is fear, anxiety, and doubt, then you are broadcasting the feeling that something is wrong or missing. And atim ortaker and duck anang in and life mirrors that state back to you. Peace signals trust. Peace tells the subconscious mind that you no longer feel separated from what you desire. A peaceful person is not emotionally chasing their future because inwardly they already believe things are unfolding in their favor. That calm certainty allows life to move naturally, without constant resistance from fear. Imagine trying to plant a seed while digging it up every single day to check whether it is growing. No seed can develop properly under constant disturbance. In the same way, when you repeatedly plant intentions through prayer, visualization, or assumption, but then destroy them with endless fear and doubt, you create inner conflict. You say you desire abundance while constantly fearing lack. You say you trust life while constantly worrying about failure. And the dominant emotional state always becomes more powerful than occasional positive thinking. A person who truly trusts does not need endless reassurance. Think about how naturally calm you feel regarding things you already believe are secure. You do not spend every minute worrying whether the sun will rise tomorrow. You trust the process of life automatically. Manifestation works most naturally when you stop treating your desires like impossible miracles and begin accepting them inwardly as realities already unfolding. Many breakthroughs arrive the moment people stop forcing them through fear. The moment they release obsession, the moment they surrender emotional struggle, circumstances begin shifting unexpectedly. This happens because resistance weakens when peace returns. So stop believing worry protects you. It never has. Return to trust. Return to stillness. Return to the quiet confidence that life is already responding, even when you cannot yet see the full picture. Most people spend their lives trying to change external circumstances without ever changing themselves internally. They believe that once the outer world improves, then they will finally feel peace, confidence, or security. But life rarely works in that order. The outer world begins shifting only after the inner state becomes stable and certain. Your dominant inner state silently influences the way you think, act, perceive, and move through life. Over time, reality mirrors these internal patterns back to you. This is why two people can face similar circumstances, yet experience completely different outcomes. Their experiences are shaped not only by external events, but by the consciousness through which they interpret and respond to life. Many people unknowingly live in unstable inner states. One day hopeful, the next day fearful. One moment certain their desires are possible, the next moment convinced everything will fail. They react emotionally to every temporary appearance in the outer world. And because circumstances are often reflections of previous inner states, this emotional pattern keeps them trapped in the same cycle. Reakker saken nakter inaten aken nat, inaten nat, reacting to old manifestations while unconsciously recreating them. The person who truly transforms their life learns something powerful. Stability must come from within first. They stop waiting for the world to give them permission to feel secure, loved, or worthy. Instead, they begin cultivating those feelings internally before visible proof appears. A certain person does not constantly chase signs because they no longer feel separated from the reality they desire. Think about how differently you behave when you truly believe something is already secured. When you know a result is guaranteed, fear weakens because trust becomes stronger. In the same way, when you become emotionally stable in the assumption that your desires are already unfolding, reality gradually begins reshaping itself around that state. At first, maintaining certainty may feel difficult because the mind is conditioned by past experiences. Old fears will try to return, but persistence changes identity over time. The more often you return to the feeling of trust and fulfillment, the more stable that state becomes. And once the inner state stabilizes, the outer world begins reflecting it in unexpected ways. Opportunities appear, relationships improve, circumstances shift. Life reorganizes itself around the new consciousness you have accepted within yourself. The outer world changes after the inner state changes first. And when certainty becomes stronger than fear, reality can no longer remain the same. One of the biggest reasons people remain stuck is because they give too much authority to temporary appearances. What they see in the moment becomes their entire truth. If circumstances look good, they feel hopeful. If circumstances look bad, they feel defeated. If nothing seems to be changing, they assume nothing will ever change. But appearances are only snapshots of a much larger process. They represent the surface expression of deeper movements already set in motion long before they become visible. What you see today is often the result of past inner states, not the final declaration of your future. Think about how often life has already proven this truth. There were moments when something looked completely hopeless, yet later it resolved in ways you could not have predicted. There were delays that felt frustrating, but revealed themselves as necessary redirections. Appearances have often been misleading, and if you reflect honestly, you already know this. When you constantly react to appearances, you interrupt your own emotional stability. You begin assuming conclusions before the full process has unfolded. You give up too early on things that were actually developing in your favor. But when you learn to observe appearances without reacting emotionally, you detach your peace from temporary conditions. You stop letting external events dictate your inner world. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means recognizing that reality is not static. It is always in motion. What you see at any given moment is only a small fragment of a much larger unfolding. And because it is incomplete, it cannot be trusted as the final truth. Many breakthroughs in life happen precisely after people stop reacting to what they see. The moment they release emotional resistance, things begin shifting unexpectedly. Inner alignment is no longer disrupted by constant fear-based reactions. So stop treating appearances as final reality. Stop assuming that what you see today defines your future. Life is always moving beyond what your eyes can currently perceive. There is an invisible order operating behind everything you experience. Most people believe their circumstances are random, but there is a deeper pattern constantly reflecting the inner assumptions you consistently hold. Your dominant thoughts, emotional patterns, and inner beliefs are not passive. They are active forces shaping how your life unfolds. Life is always responding to the strongest inner state, not occasional thoughts or fleeting emotions. When a person consistently assumes lack, struggle, or failure, life begins to reflect those assumptions through matching experiences, not as punishment, but as alignment. The outer world simply organizes itself around the patterns repeatedly impressed within consciousness. When a person begins to assume abundance, stability, and success even before physical evidence appears, life slowly begins to reorganize itself to reflect that new inner direction. This process is not immediate, which is why many people miss it. They change their thoughts for a short time and expect instant transformation. But deep assumptions take time to shift. What reshapes reality is the dominant state you return to repeatedly. Life does not respond to your hopes alone. It responds to what you consistently assume to be true about yourself and your world. Every time you return to trust, even after doubt appears, you are reinforcing a new direction. Every return to certainty weakens old patterns. Eventually, the accumulation of new assumptions becomes dominant. And ranken and z and dir in. And when that happens, life begins to reorganize itself in more noticeable ways. Doors open that were previously closed. Opportunities appear where there was once limitation. Situations that once felt fixed begin to shift naturally. So instead of reacting to current circumstances as if they are permanent, recognize them as reflections of past assumptions. And understand that your present awareness has the power to reshape what comes next. The truth is, life has always been moving in ways beyond your understanding. Even during your moments of fear, confusion, and uncertainty, unseen forces were still at work. The problem was never that life stopped responding. The problem was that worry made you believe nothing was happening. But now you understand something deeper. Appearances are temporary. Silence does not mean failure. What is invisible today can become undeniable tomorrow. So stop fighting every delay. Stop fearing every obstacle. Stop assuming that because you cannot see movement, movement does not exist. The unseen world is always active. Circumstances are always shifting. Paths are always forming. Life is constantly responding to the state you hold within yourself. Choose trust over fear. Choose peace over panic. Choose faith over endless worry. Because when your inner world becomes calm and certain, the outer world begins reflecting that certainty back to you. And one day, you will look back and realize that even in your darkest moments, everything was being arranged perfectly. The opportunities, the timing, the people, the breakthroughs, all of it was unfolding behind the scenes while you thought nothing was happening. So breathe deeply. Relax your mind. Let go of the need to control every detail. Trust the unseen movement of life because the universe is rearranging everything, even now, in your favor. If this message brought you peace or encouragement, share it with someone who may be struggling with worry right now. A single reminder can completely change a person's direction. Stay calm, stay faithful, and never stay kumanisik and and never forget, even when you cannot see it, life is still moving in your favor.